Good morning. I'll tell this story on myself. I was probably around 6 years of age. We attended a little church about 3 blocks from where we lived. Someone had come up with enough money to purchase an old upright piano. My mother wasn't a talented musician, but she did know a few chords, and of course that was enough. One night she was at the piano at that little church, and the ushers were passing the offering plate. Somehow I felt a real desire to give that night. So I reached into Mother's purse and came out with the last small bill between us and starvation, and I placed it in the offering plate. After the service, Mother explained the situation to the pastor, who graciously returned the money that kept us from starving to death. I was thinking about that the other day when I remembered another incident I read about that involved giving to the Lord's work. This happened one Sunday morning during an ordinary missions offering. A pastor stared in amazement at a pair of cowboy boots sitting in the offering plate. They belonged, or had belonged, to a rough and tumble young man who had only recently accepted Christ as his Savior. This scrappy-looking young man had walked barefooted to the front of the auditorium and placed his boots in the offering plate. The silence that followed was awkward, but it didn't last long. The awkwardness was broken by the sound of a man's voice somewhere in the congregation. And here's what he said: "Pastor, I'll give $500 for those boots." The pastor didn't know what to say. Fortunately, he didn't have to say anything. The man then walked to the altar, placed 5 crisp $100 bills in the offering plate. And then he did something else that wasn't expected. He took the boots he had just purchased back to the young man who had placed them on the altar. He smiled as he told him, "You just gave $500 to missions." It was a very sacred and exhilarating moment for that small congregation. But the story doesn't end there. That young man, the one who gave his boots that morning, eventually gave himself. He dedicated his life to the serving of God. However, God wanted to use it. That was fine with him. Not surprisingly, he himself became a missionary in northern India. All I can say is God works in mysterious ways his wonders to perform. I'm Larry Hatfield. Good day.